Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday, where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Good for Bitcoin. My name is Brandon, social media manager at Trust Machines, joined by our community manager, Kate. Happy Friday, Kate.
Hey, guys. Hey, Brandon. Happy Friday. How are we doing?
Doing good. I am very happy that it's Friday, to be honest with you. It's been a week.
Yeah, it has been a week, huh? With there's just so much happening with the Zealy, the season 2 stablecoin, Bitcoin DeFi. It's been a week.
Yeah, it's been, I guess more specifically, it's been a 24 hours. But we'll get into it. We'll talk about it a little bit. Let's start off with, though, just like a couple like Trust Machines kind of product news, some updates going out for Leather. Wanted to make sure that you talked about some of the app updates. Yeah,
so we found out earlier this week, if you were stacking your stacks on app.leather.io and you're using the non-liquid stacking DAO pool prior to last week, then your tokens weren't properly committed or stacked. This was an error on our end, but our devs and Eng team has fixed it. So if that is you, we do have a resolvement in place. You'll just go back to the app, stop pooling, and then you'll redelegate to the stacking DAO non-liquid pool. This doesn't affect people who are using the liquid pool from stacking DAO. It was just non-liquid. So yep, if that's you, make sure you do that. But you can always reach out to us if you're unsure, if you need help with the process or anything. Werner and I can definitely make sure you get the help you need.
Cool. Super important. Yeah, I remember, I think it was Xverse a few weeks ago had a similar thing where
exactly.
Native stacking, something happened, and like for one cycle, maybe it didn't connect, but
yep,
we'll get through it.
We will.
Granite rates still sitting at a very solid 16% APY. Rates get updated every Wednesday, so it might have gone up or down a little bit since Wednesday, but still very juicy APYs to take advantage of. And the creator program is still ongoing. We still have a little less than a week left, going on until the end of this month, and still plenty of time to get your submissions in.
Yeah, I'm excited to go through those. Those are always like really, they're fun. Like once you see the effort that people's put into them, it's good to go through, and I'm excited to read those with you.
Yeah, it's also nice that because we don't set a lot of like parameters on like what it should be, like the content is also super, like there's just a lot of different styles and things that they write about. And it's always just like, it's just really cool to see like all the creativity in the community when we don't set all these like limits and barriers for what they can write about or talk about. But yeah, big thing that I've been working on, at least for the past 24 hours, but we have, both been working on for the past, it's been over a month actually that this campaign has been going on, is this STX DeFi Zealy campaign. For those that don't know, Kate and I have been one of the main contributors of like keeping it going, I guess, in terms of, week over week. Every 2 weeks there's a new sprint, and we kicked off season 3 yesterday. Season 3 focused on SBTC. Had some updates to the sprint yesterday, which was having people, instead of just depositing collateral into like Zest and Granite, we had a new quest to actually borrow, and all of the borrow activity ended up breaking the chain for a little bit, unbeknownst to us. We didn't know that borrowing was such a high throughput, I guess, activity on chain, and ended up causing some issues, I'll say, on the network for a few hours. News to us. I think I'm going to write a little bit more about it on like what actually caused it. It's working now, so go on there. It is working. You can do it. You got 2 more weeks to complete quests and stuff, so still plenty of time. Yeah, let's get into some of the public company news. Lots of Bitcoin purchases this week, so we'll probably rapid fire through some of these. First, I saw Nakamoto, which is David Bailey's company, gave a small update that they expect their merger with Kindly MD to be completed after August 11th. So that's within the next couple of weeks. Pretty much for a lot of these companies where like the merger hasn't like officially gone all the way through yet. Like we have Nakamoto, there's the 21, that's Jack Maller's company. All of these companies can't actually buy more Bitcoin yet, just with the way that they're structured until this merger goes through, until their mergers go through. So once this happens, then they'll actually be able to like start buying Bitcoin and start like raising for their funds. So we'll soon see them on this list of all these companies buying Bitcoin. But that's kind of one of the main reasons that we haven't really been able to talk about them too much since they first announced that they were going public.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure what was taking the merger so long, but I mean, it's a big merger, so I understand.
Yeah, it's public company stuff. I don't know. I also would have assumed that it would have not taken too long. The SPAC process is supposed to be like fast from what I understand, but it is what it is, I guess. We'll keep waiting. We also saw BitGo, I guess, has confidentially filed for an IPO. So BitGo is wanting to go public, and we missed this last week, but Bullish also filed for an IPO last week. So BitGo and Bullish may soon be public companies.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's cool to see a lot of the companies that, you know, a lot of other Bitcoin companies rely on to operate, like finally it seems like they're getting so big that it just seems like the logical next step is to IPO.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of these crypto cycles, right? Like it's a good time to raise funds. It's a good time to go public. It's a good time to, it's just a very kind of, it's a good time right now to be raising and doing these things. So makes sense. Okay, let's rapid fire through some of these. Yeah, it's a long list. We'll start off with strategy. Of course, they bought 6,220 BTC this week. They now hold 607,770 BTC.
Then we have Trump Media. They disclosed that they purchased over $2 billion in Bitcoin and Bitcoin-related securities, with an additional $300 million on the sidelines.
Crazy. So yeah, so that's like $2 billion in BTC and then seemingly like Bitcoin ETFs.
Yeah.
Semler Scientific bought another 175 BTC. I didn't get their total, but they have been accumulating pretty much every week.
Then we have the health tech company called H100 Group. They bought 118 BTC, so they now hold 628.
Smarter Web Company bought 225 Bitcoin, now holding 1,825 Bitcoin.
We have Matador Technologies. We've talked about them before. They secured $100 million in funding to buy more Bitcoin.
And Mara Holdings, or Marathon, has raised $850 million to buy Bitcoin.
Then we have Vulcan Inc. They're an e-power sports company, and they just raised $500 million to buy Bitcoin.
And Genius Group purchased 20 Bitcoin, now holding 200 BTC.
This one I thought was cool. There's a Japanese firm called Kitabo Co. They are 116 years old, and they are spending 100 million yen to start stacking Bitcoin. And they clearly laid out they're going to do this through DCA, dollar cost average. 800 million yen is about 47 Bitcoin at current prices.
Lots of companies buying Bitcoin. We don't give financial advice on this show, but I think as long as we keep having lists like we did this week, I don't think the bull market is over with all this buying pressure anytime soon.
No, especially not with some of the news also that's coming out of the White House that we'll get into. It just doesn't seem like there's any reason to slow down. Yeah,
definitely not over yet. So Trump signed the Genius Act into law. Last week we talked about, I think it was the House that passed the bill. So Trump signed it. Just as a reminder, the Genius Act requires stablecoins to be fully backed by US dollars or similarly liquid assets like treasury bills, mandates annual audits for issuers with a market cap of more than 50 billion, establishes guidelines for foreign issuance, and it also includes language regarding bankruptcy, granting stablecoin holders super priority status in bankruptcy proceedings, giving them the legal right to recover their money first in the unlikely event of an insolvency. So super positive, just establishes a lot of customer protections, consumer protections for stablecoins that are in the US. So USDC, of course, heavily, is helped by this bill. Tether is not in the US, so does not really include Tether, although I think there's like rumors that Tether is trying to like establish like a US version of USDT that's like separate from USDT that would kind of align within this bill. When Trump was signing this, he had like some press conference or something. He was talking about it, and like Paolo, which is like the Tether CEO or whatever, was like in the audience. So he's like around.
Interesting.
I guess.
Yeah.
But right now, most heavily benefits like USDC.
Yeah. I mean, I see this as like bullish for Bitcoin because I really think that, holding stablecoins is like you're just holding US dollars, and eventually those are also going to depreciate in purchasing power. But it's much easier to convert your stablecoins to Bitcoin than it is your dollar bills or money in your bank account. I don't know. I've always seen stablecoins as just like a really great onboarding tool to Bitcoin eventually. So I think that it's good news.
Yeah. I mean, once you have, even if it's US dollars, once they're on chain, right, you have 24/7 settlement, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to wait for like business hours, 9 to 5, no weekends to be able to move money around like you do with banks. You can make trades, you can buy Bitcoin, you can sell it, you can do everything on chain whenever you want, on holidays, whenever. So yeah, it's a great kind of onboarding vehicle for Bitcoin for more people to get on chain.
And for so many people around the world who would like access US dollars because that's just the easiest way for them to transact and possibly save their money. Obviously, that's a huge unlock for them to be able to access US dollars now.
Yeah, and then for the US, it like benefits the US because they have that dollar dominance and they can maintain that kind of world reserve currency sort of status that they have had through these stablecoin companies holding US dollars or treasury bills or things like that. This is a quote or a tweet that came out from Bo Hines, who is the executive director of the Council of Advisors for Digital Assets. Basically said that the president's working group on digital assets has completed its 180-day report, and it will be released publicly on July 30th, which is early next week. This 180-day report was originally promised in Trump's executive order when he first took office. To sort of recap, it said, within 180 days, the working group will submit a report to the president, which will recommend regulatory and legislative proposals. And of course, we've already seen a lot of progress here, but what it outlined was a federal regulatory framework governing the issuance and operation of digital assets, including stablecoins. Obviously, the Genius Bill kind of checks a lot of those boxes, but we still need that market structure bill, considering provisions for market structure, oversight, consumer protection, and risk management, and evaluate the potential creation and maintenance of a national digital asset stockpile derived from seized assets. So I don't know, do you think next week we'll see like the US government's plan to buy some more Bitcoin or not?
I don't think so.
Me either. I don't think so either.
Yeah, that might be like too much for them. They're doing a lot right now. Who knows though? Like, hey, maybe it comes out of left field, but yeah, I just can't see them like outwardly saying that at the current moment.
Yeah, I think it'll like eventually happen, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna begin or whatever anytime soon. The best thing that the government can do is to not sell any of the Bitcoin that they have. Mm-hmm. We saw some FUD last week with those FOIA requests, potentially indicating that the US government had like more than 10 times less Bitcoin than thought. I guess Arkham Intelligence, who we've looked at some of their dashboards on the show before, they basically confirmed, or they're still confirming, that the US has $20 billion at least, but that it is held across multiple agencies. So that's kind of why we saw that discrepancy. That FOIA request from last week was only for one agency. I think it was the U.S. Marshals that you talked about. So that's why. Yes, the U.S. Marshals maybe only has like 2 billion Bitcoin, all up, across like seized assets and other departments. It's still, Arkham Intelligence is still kind of maintaining that the U.S. still has that amount. So we'll have to see.
I feel like
hopefully that audit comes out in the future to actually confirm it, but yeah.
That's true. And I also think until maybe they kind of organize their holdings better, because like you said, it's held across multiple agencies right now. Some of it's held up in legal proceedings. So maybe until it's like a little bit more organized, they know how they're handling it, custodying it, all of those provisions, maybe it doesn't make sense to start buying, but who knows?
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that some of it is at least, or some of this Bitcoin is on Coinbase. Like the US government has like contracts with Coinbase where Coinbase is custodying it.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it makes total sense. So it seems like, once they figure out, and it seems like it would be easy to just be like, yeah, it's on Coinbase, right? And then from there, they can work with Coinbase to maybe create some sort of proof of reserve or something to prove that they own it. So yeah, more to come, I guess. We'll see.
More to come. I had a couple things here to share from the White House. Yeah. So nothing is written in stone, but there was two things that came out. We might have touched on them in the last couple of weeks, maybe not. But it's looking like Trump is expected to sign an executive order that would allow people to buy Bitcoin through their 401ks, so their retirement plans, just like they would with any other stocks or mutual funds or ETFs. Because you can currently buy Bitcoin through an ETF in your 401 right now. Yeah.
You can. Yep.
But this would allow you to buy it directly, which is awesome. And yeah, it's a huge win because there's about 9 trillion in retirement funds right now. So obviously this leads to more Bitcoin exposure for a much wider audience. So I think that's pretty cool. And then, as we know, in the US and a lot of other places around the world, every Bitcoin payment that you make to someone or a business is treated as a taxable event. And so this has obviously been a huge barrier for anyone who wants to actually spend their Bitcoin in any way. The White House has kind of hinted support that they would implement a de minimis tax exemption for Bitcoin payments, which just means everyday purchases, such as buying a coffee, would not trigger a taxable event, which obviously just removes a huge amount of friction. I'm not sure what the amount would be. I've heard rumors of 600, I've heard rumors of 200, 300. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a huge amount because everyday payments, I think, are considered under 600. I'm actually not sure. But it's pretty cool news.
Yeah, it'll be interesting just also to see with crypto people what kind of loopholes people are, going to be able to to find, right? It needs to be, if they're going to roll something like this out, it needs to be like very rock solid.
Yeah.
So people can't, buy a bunch of $599, send a bunch of $599 payments to buy something, right?
Yeah.
That's a higher value item. So, but also like who wants to sell their Bitcoin? Who wants to buy things with Bitcoin at the same time?
This would not really affect me at all.
Yeah.
I'd be like, cool, I'm not going to give you my Bitcoin.
Yeah. I'd much rather get a loan on Bitcoin, which is not taxable, right? And then use that money to buy stuff. Shout out Granite. So we both kind of dove down this rabbit hole this week. Last week was the Bitcoin Quantum Summit in San Francisco. We saw a few bits of quantum related news. If you've been on Twitter over this past week, you've certainly seen a lot of people talking about Bitcoin's quantum resistance. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that. And we first wanted to highlight BIP 360. I'm going to share the thread here. But our own cryptographer at Trust Machines, Joey, or I think it's Zoloki is how you pronounce his alter ego. He posted a thread, and he is actually a contributor to this BIP, which is super cool. I'm gonna share here in a second. There we go. So Joey Yandel recently got involved with BIP 60, which is leading proposal to make Bitcoin resistant to quantum attack. And he laid out kind of a series of posts outlining why it's necessary. What BIP 360 does to address it, and what additional work needs to happen for sort of full protection. And just to kind of outline or talk a little bit more about his thread. So he said, how is Bitcoin vulnerable to a quantum attack? Basically, many Bitcoin outputs contain a public key, which can be used to spend them. So we don't really have, quantum computers right now, but there's a lot of estimates saying that within the next like 5 to 10 years, we could have quantum computers that are going to be able to crack these public keys. And once that happens, right, it'll affect a lot more things other than Bitcoin. There's a lot more things that run on private keys and public keys that can also be cracked through quantum computing, but Bitcoin is also potentially vulnerable, or some Bitcoin is also potentially vulnerable with this. So quantum computers can run on this algorithm, Shor's algorithm, to find the private keys behind these public keys which can then be used to spend the outputs or basically steal the Bitcoin, the underlying Bitcoin. So this BIP 360, it creates a new output type, which is P2, which stands for Pay to Quantum Resistant Hash. And this type is backwards compatible with existing Taproot types, but it removes this key spend path. Basically, it just doesn't reveal this like public key anymore. And this leads to some space saving as well because it doesn't have the public key included. So it's, a great step potentially towards this quantum resistance, but because it requires you to migrate to essentially a new wallet, right? For those that are using like Lether or Xverse, right? You have like a Bitcoin address that starts with like B2, BC1Q and BC1P,
yeah.
Right? So those are different like wallet address types. So this would be a new wallet address type that you would have to migrate to. That's like a quantum resistant wallet address. So it requires you to do that, right? So if you don't do that, or if you're somebody like Satoshi who has their funds there and they're just sitting there and they're not migrating to a new wallet, it does not protect those coins. So you would have to take an action to move it to a new quantum resistant wallet in order to protect your Bitcoin from a quantum resistant sort of not a hack, but yeah, like a vulnerability, I guess.
It's kind of like a takeover. It's like you're able to derive the private key from the public key, and therefore you have access to the funds to move them. So I guess you call this a hack, but yes.
Yeah, but it's not like a hack of the network itself.
Exactly.
It's still like a hack of individual wallets.
Yeah, exactly.
That just have those public keys exposed. So it's an important kind of distinction that, yeah, like the Bitcoin network itself would still continue to work. Mm-hmm. It would just be as if somebody discovered your private key and then could take your Bitcoin.
And then we had an opposing, well, not opposing, but like a different kind of proposal for the way to move forward. Do you want to get into that one? And then we can kind of debrief.
Yeah. So this one also came from Jameson Lopp. So he published a BIP proposal. It doesn't have a number, but his proposal for quantum resistance. And this one would actually protect Satoshi's coins and others sort of quote unquote lost coins. But it would essentially give all Bitcoiners a 5-year time frame to upgrade to one of these quantum resistant wallets. And then after that time, any funds that had not been moved over would essentially be frozen from being spent. So there's certainly a lot of pros and cons to this approach. There's a quote that basically says, fail to upgrade and you will be unable to spend your funds, creating a certainty where none previously existed. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like 5 years is like too short, but I feel like also it doesn't, if it's 10 years, if it's 20 years, like it doesn't matter. There's like, once that cutoff happens, there's always going to be somebody that's like, oh, my Bitcoin's stuck. I didn't know, it's just like, it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Regardless. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about the 5-year time frame, but it certainly would be a good thing for Satoshi's coins to be locked up in some way so that this can never happen, because that's certainly a huge bounty, that Satoshi's coins have.
I know, that's the thing. It's like, we were kind of talking about this earlier, but like freezing coins, forcing upgrades, it's like, it doesn't really go in line with like the whole trustless, permissionless ethos of Bitcoin. If we're just like starting to pick like which coins are valid and which ones are not, like it's a tough sell. But like at the same time, if Satoshi's coins are moved by someone who's not him, it just like sends panic and sort of so much FUD and distrust, even though like we could preach about this upgrade for 10 years and it happens and then his coins get hacked or something and everyone would say Bitcoin's been hacked and blah, blah, blah. It just kind of like undermines so much of like the narrative that Bitcoin has built. So it's really so tough. Like I'm so for, like, I really like this BIP 360. I think like opt-in sort of procedures like this are always obviously the best way to go. And I can see this is going to happen through wallets and exchanges, and companies are going to just slowly integrate this into their tech stack. This is going to be such a philosophical debate. I think that's going to happen in the next 5-10 years. Is just like, what do we do with those coins? I've seen some options where people are saying like maybe there is some kind of, not backdoor, but like if the upgrade were to happen, there would still be some way that you'd have to like really prove your identity and really prove your digital signature in order to like move your coins to the new fork, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's basically like any time that you're talking about like freezing funds, you're talking about removing the permissionless aspect of Bitcoin,
yeah,
right? Or diminishing the permissionless aspect of Bitcoin, because then you're locking up somebody else's funds, even if it is somebody like Satoshi who probably wouldn't have moved them anyway. But
yeah, exactly.
It's just it gets very dangerous very quickly when you're trying to preserve the decentralization and permissionlessness of Bitcoin.
I'm kind of hoping that like by the time we get there, we have figured out a new way.
We need a quantum computer to figure it out for us.
Yeah, there you go. Quantum computing for good.
And, yeah. Yeah, who's building this? That's what I want to know.
Anyway, the good thing is like it's not here yet, but it's going to be coming. Like it will come, I feel, eventually. I mean, the good thing is like Bitcoiners are at the forefront of cryptography, so it's going to be like obviously forefront and center for us to kind of discuss and debate about the way to move forward. But
yeah, this type of stuff, I mean, it gets super technical so fast. So there's a lot of very big brained people that are debating this, that are very technical and understand all the very deep nuances of how Bitcoin works. But yeah, it is also though just like a more of a philosophical question as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, super interesting. We'll try to pin a few of these threads that are interesting into the show notes for people to take a look at and maybe read a little bit more about it. We'll certainly pin the BIPs in there for people to read the proposals themselves. But it also kind of reminds me of that quote where people overestimate what can be done in a year and underestimate what can be done in 10. 10 years from now, we might be tackling this problem head on 10 years from now. We'll have to see.
Who knows? I think it would break people's psyches if Satoshi's coins moved and it wasn't a hack.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. What if like they did this and implemented it and then Satoshi just like moved it to another wallet and then never moved it again?
Yeah.
Like what if he actually is still around and is choosing to just keep them dormant, but then still move them to comply with this 5-year, thing? That'd be crazy.
That would be crazy.
Got to talk about SIP 31 passing with over 97% in favor. We, of course, talked about it last week, but we wanted to elaborate a little bit more on it. I realize that I'm still sharing my screen, so apologies for everyone that's just been staring at this one thread this whole time. But let's go over to the SIP 31 results and talk a little bit about the timeline. This is kind of what's important, right? Is, we know that it passed, but what is actually next? Now there's a lot of work that's being done to actually implement these changes now that the SIP has passed. So the first one that's kind of the most immediate is a hard fork has been established for stacks. That's going to happen at Bitcoin block 907740, which I think last time I checked was estimated to be mined on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. And that is going to actually mint the 100 million stacks tokens that will be used by the endowment and the new operational entity. So that's going to happen on Tuesday. So the entity will then have that funding technically in STX to begin doing some of the work that they're doing. But as we can see here, there's of course a lot more. That's nothing compared to, all the work that's going to be required to actually spin up these entities, hire the people, get all these things in place, all the legal stuff that's required with spinning up these entities. And we can see here, there's a lot to do over the next couple of months. to get everything going.
Yeah, it's exciting though. I think it's a really good change that needs, and I think we're kind of just happy that it's like past, the decision has been made, and we can all move forward together now. And yeah, build up our momentum again.
Totally. Yeah, even thinking of like what happened with Zeely, where, it kind of broke the chain for a little bit with like this bottleneck, right? Having, right now when something like this happens in the ecosystem, there's a lot of different people across different groups, different entities that are all contributing, to this. So it's hard to like have like a person or like a small group of people to go to and be like, hey, blah, 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 what is going on here? So to have kind of a better kind of chain of command for those types of situations would certainly be helpful, and just operationally just more efficient for them to potentially implement these types of fixes that can improve things going forward. So yeah, it's a new era, lots of exciting things to come, and it's going to be a busy few months between this next week with July, but then also it establishes here August through September, and then fall, and then just ongoing from there. So lots to look forward to.
Very cool. I thought that this was pretty cool and could be worth something to follow along with. Satoshi AI, I know that you've heard of it. It's still in sort of beta or closed beta. It's not open to everybody yet, but it's basically just an AI agent that allows you to find the best Bitcoin DeFi yield strategies. And so a little bit of history about the project. It began as a memoir to Satoshi. It was an AI agent that was trained on Satoshi's writings, his ideas, and they just wanted to explore like how Satoshi might interpret the evolution of crypto since his disappearance. From there, they launched this AI token, and they briefly reached a $13 million market cap, and I believe this was on Stacks. And then this really helped them evolve into what it is today, is a terminal called Satoshi AI, which really just allows you to go in and ask, hey, where can I put my Bitcoin? What's the best Bitcoin yield? So it's really like an interface to find the best Bitcoin DeFi strategies. So you could prompt the terminal with questions like, how do I earn the most yield on my Bitcoin? I want Bitcoin exposure, but what's the best strategy with using Stacks? And then it'll go through the different protocols and calculate the numbers for you, and then kind of give you a step-by-step of like, all right, supply SBTC here, take a loan on Granite or Zest, and then borrow USDH. And it's just like basically giving you a playbook. There's a lot of people within Stacks right now who are good at calculating this, but it's very manual for them because they're obviously doing it themselves. And so this is just obviously the automated way to do that. And then if you select a certain strategy, then from there it could execute it on your behalf using Leather or Xverse. And I don't know, like obviously it's nascent. I'm sure not everything has been worked out. Obviously it's not even open to everybody yet, but it's just like something that I think is worth following. And I would imagine we'll see a lot more, similar styles of products pop up in Bitcoin in the future. Because it just kind of allows you to put your DeFi strategy or your financial strategy sort of on autopilot and allows you to enjoy life a little bit.
Totally. Yeah. I'd love to just have like a few different sort of pools that I can like put a select amount of money in and be like, here's, $1,000, like go degen it somewhere, right? And have some degen pool. And the fact that it can do things like, that it could do things like auto executing certain trades based on the parameters that you set, maybe do like rebalancing and different things like that. There's a lot of really cool things that integrating AI into your trading strategies could open up. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on and keep track of. That
would be cool. It'd also be quite useful for like tax purposes too. It's like just pull my list, put it in a CSV, and I'll submit that to my accountant or whatever. I feel like that could be quite useful.
That would also, that would be very, very useful. Speaking of taxes and paying down debt, did you know that you can Venmo the United States to help pay off the national debt?
I hate this so much.
Yeah, this tweet went viral. It's super funny. I wanted to end the show with it. So yeah, apparently you can send the United States money as a gift to help pay off the national debt.
Oh.
This answer from Grok was really funny. Somebody asked about like how much impact it would actually have. So Grok answered, based on CBO projections of $7 trillion in the US federal outlays for FY 2025, the government spends about $222,000 per second. Thus, $100 would cover roughly 451 microseconds of spending. And what's even more crazy is there have actually been 5 donations so far in 2025. Most recent one happened on May 31st, which was somebody, for some reason, gave $26,000. But as we see that it didn't even cover 1 second of the US government spending, which is just absolute madness. Please don't do this. Just buy Bitcoin instead. You'll be much, much better off.
That's good. These are some pretty big donations, actually. The list you have here, there's one for 173,000, one for 96,000. Oof.
The only thing I could think of is people are somehow doing this as some sort of like tax write-off, or like I don't know. It doesn't make any sense why you would do this, but some have. I don't know why. It's pretty wild. Anyway,
nothing stops you from paying more taxes, you know? There's a certain amount that you owe, but you can always pay more. So if that's what you want to do, if your life, power to you.
If you're in a position to do this, I mean, you're in a pretty good spot, probably.
Yeah, you're just trolling at this point.
Yeah, I wonder after this tweet went viral, like how many people like sent them $1 or something just as a meme.
Yeah.
I should have done that. I wonder, they'll have to update their list.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, well, that's a good place to end the show on. A little more lighthearted.
Yeah.
Kind of story. Super funny. Yeah, don't do this. Maybe just buy Bitcoin and hold it for a little bit. And I don't know, anything else?
No, I don't think so. I think we got into most of it. Good luck to you with the rest of the Zealy day.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we kicked off. I reinstated a Zest quest this morning to just supply and not to borrow. And then I think Granite and Zest will have some loan quests maybe next week once some more issues have been ironed out. So TBD. But yeah, no changes made today. No more changes made today, so I'm not having to like work over the weekend or anything. Fingers crossed.
Be kind to Brandon in the Discord.
There's some people that are nice. It's okay. It balances out. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We will see you next week, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more public companies to talk about that bought Bitcoin, and hopefully you join them. And yeah, have a good weekend.
See you guys then. Bye.
Thank you for listening. We record Good for Bitcoin live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on X. Please follow us at Trust Machines Co. if you would like to listen and engage with us live. Visit us at trustmachines.co for all the latest Bitcoin news. We'll see you next week.